All right, guys, let's say that you've completed this course and you've built up a portfolio of websites that you have coded up and you're ready to get a job as a web developer. Now, one of the most common questions that you're going to encounter on any programming interview is something called FizzBuzz. And it's a really simple problem, and this is usually how they would define it. So you have to write a program that prints the numbers from 1 to 100, but for multiples of 3, print fizz instead of the number, and for multiples of 5, print buzz. For numbers which are multiples of both 3 and 5, for example 15, then print fizz buzz instead of the number. So it's pretty simple, but it's a really easy way of seeing how you solve problems and demonstrating a candidate's programming skills. And just the other day, I came across a article on Coding Horror, which is one of my favorite blogs, about why can't programmers program. And the interesting thing that they talk about is what seems to be common knowledge amongst programming recruiters. And the fact of the matter is that out of 200 applicants, there's probably only one person who can actually code. And this is a really strange phenomenon. Part of the reason is down to the fact that completing computer science degrees doesn't necessarily enable people to code. And a lot of people will graduate from a computer science degree and they might know how, say, compilers work or, some aspects of computer history, but they might not actually know exactly how to write good code. One of the most interesting statistics I came across is that in the UK, some of the most in-demand jobs involve programming and software development. And yet, the university degree that has the highest unemployment rate happens to be computer science, which is really, really strange. So I'm going to use this classic interview question, and I'm going to make it even more difficult because we're going to use it to learn all about arrays, but on a slightly deeper level. So let's try and be better than 199 of programming interviewees, and let's look at this FizzBuzz problem and use it to learn more about arrays. So the problem is based on a game that children play in England, in the UK, which somebody at some point thought was fun, but that really depends on your definition of fun. So the idea is that you have a bunch of children in a circle and they will go in turn listing the numbers in sequence, so 1, 2, etc. But if the number that you have to call out is divisible by 3, then you have to shout fizz instead of 3. And if it's divisible by 5, you have to shout buzz instead of 5. And if your number is divisible by both, then you have an even harder problem because you have to shout fizz buzz. So it's pretty simple given that kids can play it, so we can write a program that can assimilate a child who can play fizz buzz. So let's break down the problem. How can we write some code that prints out a sequence of numbers starting from 1? Clearly, you can tell that, these children are not going to be programmers because they start counting from 1 rather than 0. But this is how the game works, so let's do that. We need to get our code to print out a sequence of numbers starting from 1, and every single time we run the code, the next number gets called out. So let's create a new array. And let's call it output. And we're going to set it to an empty array. Now you can either create a new array by giving it values to begin with. For example, this is an array that contains 1, 2, 3, or you can start off with an empty array and use something called push in order to add new items into the array. So you can write output.push, and inside the parentheses, you can put whatever it is that you want to push onto the array. So for example, let's push number 1. So now if you print out output, then it's an array with a single item that's the number 1. And you can keep doing this output.push. Let's add 2 to this array. And now output is an array with 2 values, that is 1 and 2. Now, the important thing to remember about push is that it always pushes the item that you have in the parentheses to the end of the array. It doesn't push it in randomly into the array or at the beginning. It's always tagged on at the end. And this is a really easy way of adding new items into your array as needed. So in our case, adding first 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, etc. And a related function is something called pop. So you can pop items off your array by using the name of the array .pop. So in our case, our array is called eggs. So if we say eggs.pop, then it will take the last item in the array and it will remove it from the array. So what we've seen is that we can basically keep saying output.push And each time we run this, our array gets a new number added to the sequence. And if we do this many, many times, then we end up with our sequence of numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, etc. Now, the thing is, we're programmers, and this is a little bit too manual for us. And in life, whenever things get a little bit too tedious, my first thought is I should make a function. Now, that happens on a regular basis, and sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. For example, loading up the washing machine, really tedious. Blow drying long hair is really, really tedious, to the point where I start thinking about making a drone that I could program to dry my hair. It just flies around me and dries my hair. Now, in the future, if you ever come across a picture of me with no hair, then you'll know what happened. So, instead of writing output.push every single time and adding the next number on, let's create a function instead. So let's go into our snippets inside our index.js, and let's create our output array here, and let's set it to an empty array. Now next, I'm going to create a function called fizzbuzz, and this is going to have a console log in it so that it will print out the value of the output every single time it's run. Okay, so far our function does absolutely nothing. Now here's the challenge. I want you to complete this code so that every single time you run the function fizzbuzz, it will add the next number in the sequence to the array called output. So write your code here, and once you've succeeded, you should be able to call the function fizzbuzz, and it will print out the array, and every single time you run this code, it will add the next number in the sequence. So you can do something like this, where every time you call fizzbuzz, it will keep going and adding new numbers into the array and printing it out into the console. So you'll need to think back about what we learned in this lesson about push and pop, and also think about how you can keep track of those numbers and figuring out how you can add it to the array. So pause the video now and see if you can complete this challenge. All right, so how did that go? Well, the first problem we have is we need to add a number that increases by 1 every single time we run the function. So we need a variable to keep track of that number. So let's create a container, or a variable rather, called count, and let's set it to equal 1 in the beginning. Now what we can do is we can use our output.push in order to push the value of count onto the end of our array that's called output. So at this point, if we run our code, the output array gets created as an empty array. And once we run this function fizzbuzz, then 1 will get added to the output array. So we will end up with an array with a single value that's just the number 1, because that's what we pushed onto it. But at the moment, no matter how many times I run this, it will keep adding 1 to the end of the array, which is not quite what we want. We want to increase the sequence of numbers. So in order to do that, we have to increment count. And you might remember from previous lessons, we'll have to do that by saying count equals count plus 1, or more simply, we can just write count plus plus. So now if we run this snippet, and I clear my console, and let's run fizzbuzz, you can see that each time I run this function, it will add the next number in the sequence to our array. So that is one of the solutions to this challenge. Now, what about the next step? How do we get our code to, instead of putting 3 into our array, put the word fizz? And instead of putting 5, we want it to write buzz. Well, remember previously we learned about something called the modulo. And this allows us to check what the remainder is. So, for example, if we said 12 modulo 2, then it will divide 12 by 2, and it will print out the remainder, which is 0, because 12 is fully divisible by 2. 12 divided by 2 equals 6, and there is no remainder. Whereas something like 12 modulo 5, then you will get a remainder. So 5 goes into 12 twice, which gets us up to 10, and then there's a remainder of 2. So a common way that programmers use the modulo is to check whether if a number is fully divisible by another number. So we can use the same concept in our code in order to check to see if the current value of count is divisible by 3. And when it is, then instead of pushing count, we're going to push fizz into our output array. Now, if count is divisible by 5, then we're going to push buzz into our output array instead of the number 5. And similarly for the case of fizzbuzz, when the number is both divisible by 3 and 5. Now here's the challenge. You should be able to call the function fizzbuzz in the console, and every time you do so, it will push the word fizz into the array instead of the number that was divisible by 3, and it will add the word buzz into the array instead of the number that's divisible by 5. And if a number is divisible by both 3 and 5, then it will add the word fizzbuzz into your array. And you can keep going, calling fizzbuzz each time to get the next value pushed onto the array. So using what you've learned about arrays and some of the things that we've learned in previous lessons, pause the video now and see if you can complete this challenge. All right, so let's break down this problem. The first thing that we need to do is to check if the value of count is divisible by 3. So to do that, we can use the if statement. So we can say if count modulo 3, so the remainder of count divided by 3 is equal to 0, then in that case, count is divisible by 3. And instead of pushing count into the output, we should push the word fizz. But otherwise, or else, then we should push count, which is the number. And then we increase count by 1 and we print out the value of output. So now let's run our snippet and call fizzbuzz. So we start off with 1, 2, and then we get fizz because 3 is divisible by 3. 4, 5, 6. 6 is divisible by 3, so we also get fizz. So our code is working. All right, so now let's address the next problem, buzz. How do we take into account when our number is divisible by 5 that it should print buzz? Well, if instead of having an else straight away, if we had an else if here, and we check to see if count is divisible or modulo 5, and that equals 0, then in that case, at this moment in time, count is divisible by 5. So instead of pushing count, we will push buzz. So now let's run our snippet, clear our console, and call fizzbuzz. So 1, 2, 3 is fizz, 4, 5 is buzz. So our code is now working for fizz and buzz. Now there's just one last thing that it's not complying with, which is what happens when the current number is divisible by both 3 and 5. As you can see, at this point, the number is 15, and it's only printing fizz because the code runs from top to bottom, and the first thing that it will encounter is this if statement, which says that if count is divisible by 3, push fizz. And once that's done, it skips all the other else and else if statements, and it doesn't even check to see whether if it's also divisible by 5. So there's a few ways of addressing this, but the easiest way is to first check if count is divisible by 3 and at the same time count is divisible by 5. And in this case, we can push fizzbuzz onto the output. And then we have else if it's only divisible by 3, push fizz. Else if it's only divisible by 5, then push buzz. And in all other scenarios, or else, then just push the number value of count onto our array. So now if we run our code and call fizzbuzz, then you can see that it works for both divisible by 5 and 3, as well as when it's divisible by both numbers. So the order of your if statements matter a huge deal, and it's almost like a water flow, right? The water or the code will flow into each of the conditions, and once it's found a condition that's true, it will skip every other avenue. So it's important to think about how you order your if and else if statements. Now, there's a few other ways of solving this problem, and it doesn't matter if you chose my way of solving it or another way. The whole point is getting you to think about how you can use conditionals and arrays to structure a sequence. Now, in the next lesson, we'll look at taking this code even further and making it even more automated. Because remember, what are we? We're programmers. And what have we got? We've got all the codes. And just to take that point a little bit further, as extra reading, you might be interested in the story of a Russian programmer. Now, if you speak or read Russian, then you will be able to read the story in its original form. And if you don't, then there's a link to where somebody has translated this into English. It's a really funny story of an engineer who basically automated his entire work life using code. And it fits in with our current theme of trying to automate everything that we do using code. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the next lesson.